Hello, good afternoon. Good evening.
Be careful, it's starting to get cool. Are you ready? Let's call this meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Cleveland. Present. Councilman Saxenheimer.
Present.
Councilwoman Smith. Absent. Councilman Evans.
Present.
Councilman Nelson.
Present.
Councilman Hahn.
Present.
Councilwoman Rosso.
Present.
Councilwoman Campbell. Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Once again, I'm going to read our mission statement so that we stay aware of why we're here this evening. The mission of the City of Normandy is to provide a high level of public service and to grow the community through transparent, accountable, and professional governance.
One moment, Mayor.
Sure. Are we good?
Yep.
Thank you. First item on the agenda, can I have a motion, please, for the approval of the August 23, 2022 budget workshop minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B, approval of the September 6, 2022 City Council meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, approval of the September 8, 2022 workshop minutes.
Mayor Lark, so what is the conversation then if one of the minutes?
Yeah, just, you can pipe in.
Okay.
Go ahead. Is there a motion to approve the September 8 meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion.
A second?
Well, I
Yeah,
have
when
to,
there's a second, then I know that you want to comment on these.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
yes, the,
I needed to go back.
what, are you something?
It was,
Yolanda
I'm
is
sorry.
something.
Go
ahead.
It went a little bit too fast. On September 6th,
Oh,
the September 6th one, I didn't abstain from the vote. I went to the ladies' room,
Oh,
so I was absent. So can we change that one?
to not present?
Yeah, to not present or,
It's already been approved.
No, this is the one we're discussing.
yeah, I know, but I
No,
Yeah,
this
she
is
did.
the one we're discussing.
no, they did, you did approve. I just wanted, can we make it, I didn't abstain.
Yeah,
She left early, she had to.
I had to go to the,
September
September 6th.
September 6th.
It's what we need to have discussion
The
about.
resolution for
right.
council, the quiet title actions. It's on page 5 of 6.
Okay. We have approved minutes for September 6th, and now there's a motion to amend.
Yeah.
And can you state your
Motion to change it to, what would you change it to? I went to the bathroom.
You were,
That's why I marked you as abstained, not because, I knew that's what happened, but generally, if you're silent in a voice vote, that's an abstention, so.
Yeah, so I also think it should properly be marked as an abstention.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, so that's correct.
You rescind your motion?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
When she went to the bathroom,
Okay, then I make. a
And on
motion-
September 8th, there's,
they have a question on the 8th.
go ahead.
Now can I?
Yes.
Okay, so the, I make a motion, let's see. Well, the citizen comments, just to be, I brought it to Mr. Johnson's attention that Lily Jackson's comment was brought up that her granddaughter was bit by a loose dog, and police didn't follow it up. As the recording stated. So I just bring that up on page 5 of 6.
Okay, I'm confused. Are we on the September 8th?
No, it's back, we're still on the 6th. It's underneath mine.
Wait a minute.
It's underneath mine.
Can't go back to 6.
We're on the 8th.
6 is already done. Maybe 8.
Or on the 8th. 6. But the 6th is what I have the corrections for,
All right,
not the 8th.
all right. Go ahead. We have approved minutes once again for September 6th, and we have a motion to amend.
Okay. So, my report in regards to Castle Park Apartments, it would be better phrased with, Councilman Rassa reported on her concern about the disrepair of the driveway leading to the Castle Park Apartments. So I'd like that to be corrected. Have a motion to add the police chief. We talked at length about the police.
Let's take one at a time.
Okay,
You're on line 5, page 3 of 6.
it looks like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
Your motion is to amend your concern about the disrepair of the drive leading up to Castle Park.
Right.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, we're replacing Solero with the disrepair of the drive leading to Castle Park.
It's this one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, I didn't catch the second.
Who seconded that motion?
Me.
Tony?
Thank you.
Okay, so now we've amended the September 6th meeting minutes. Andy, I need to get approval as amended again, or
There's
are
a
we
few
good?
more things.
Okay.
There's a few more things.
Okay.
The police report is, as I reheard the recording, we talked at length about the police would track loose dogs to give owners a citation. And that's not recorded in the summary of the police report, which I think is really important.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 3 again, under police chief and his report.
It's right before public works.
Yeah, I'm reading it.
Yeah, they should be given that.
I would suggest again that not everything that's said is gonna make it into the minutes of the meeting.
I understand it, but that was like a 5 or 6 minute conversation within that report that we were going back and forth talking about. So I just
All right,
think, which led us to put on the agenda this a month about the ordinance about the different types of dogs and the city's restrictions, so.
so what is your amendment? A lengthy discussion
Well, I
concerning
would-
enforcement of,
Well, the police would track loose dogs to give owners a citation. That was
She just
part
wants
of
that
his.
sentence.
That sentence, it's simple enough.
okay,
that
go ahead and state it clearly so that Kiana can.
Police would track loose dogs to give owners a citation.
There's a motion to amend. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
This is different from when I re-listened to the recording, the Public Works Director had a list of things that were being activated and to share with the community in regards to what they were doing. And I think that's really important to list, although I'm seeing in the October report the carryover of that because it's happening in the fall season. I would just think that it would be, we've got the report here for October, it would be of interest to the residents in reading it as to what the Public Works people are doing and what to expect in the October, November seasons. I just think it's very brief and it doesn't give much information at all. The same with the treasurer is, it can be easy enough for Mr. Ellis to do a paragraph to summarize each month's statements. And I just think we need every way we can be transparent and every way that we could give some information out to people to use that. It's not a matter of what's best and what's not. It's like a matter of which ways, all the ways that we can do it. So I don't know, this is a little bit different than previous months in regards to amending. I don't know why, but so I don't know what to say about that, except I would encourage us to, in the future, to summarize those departments so that when a resident looks up at the minutes, they could say, oh, they're doing this for us. The finances are, the percentage being used is, far away from the end budget and a couple, so I just don't know what to say about that. I just think it's really, it's a simple thing. It's a communication, another way to communicate. And I did not come with, well, we've got the Public Works points, but I did not come with a summary for the city treasurer, although I listened and I wrote in layman's term what I think, but I that's not for me to do. I would just encourage us to reconsider using that information in our minutes for people.
Is this paragraph gonna be a link on the website? What's in the notes? Because it was just like in the packet.
Yes,
It's
it
just
was
gonna
in
be
the
like a
packet,
link.
it was included according to what was on the agenda.
But what part of the, I guess I'm asking like, which minutes is it gonna go under? Because it says October 4th, but we didn't
This
have,
is a report of officers.
so is this gonna be, oh, this is for today.
Right,
So
but
it's for
it's
the
the same
11th.
information as September. And I understand that
Oh,
because
so it has
it's
the wrong date.
ongoing.
It has the wrong date.
No, that's how it was submitted to me when I asked for the report of officers to be included with the packet.
So this is actually the report for today, not before.
I'm sorry, that was when it was received.
Right, for today,
For-
but in
this
September,
packet.
that was the information that Sam verbally gave
Okay, I
everyone.
was
Okay,
confused.
is there
I
a
get it.
specific motion to amend?
I don't know what to do with that.
Okay, well, I will say this, I respectfully disagree, that these minutes are not a newsletter. We've got the recording on the website if anybody wants to listen. This is a legal document, that what the council did, and they have been expanded, and I think they've been satisfactorily expanded. And you could have a dozen people write the minutes, and you're gonna have a dozen different minutes. Does it accurately reflect what took place at that meeting, I think is what's important.
Well, I think the information will be the same because the recording, I listened to it, it's there. The summaries can be an expectation that are asked of department heads and in the financial report. But I mean, I just feel that we could be using all avenues of communication. And it's a legal document, and I think that that's important to reflect what work is being done in the city, especially with the lack of information being given over the years, previous years. So anyway, that's what's gonna hold me back from voting yes on these minutes.
Thank you. We've got two amendments that were made and approved. Andy, is it necessary to get approval as amended, or are we good?
I think we need approval as amended.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve as amended the September 6, 2022 minutes?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
One opposed, motion carries. All right, do I have a motion to approve the Thursday, September 8, 2022 workshop?
So moved.
Is there a second?
22,
September
September
8th, 2022, the workshop meeting. It was a budget workshop.
It's not on the agenda.
September 8th.
Oh, it's September 8th, got it, never mind.
Yep.
I second. There was no quorum.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the September 27, 2022 City Council meeting minutes?
I will make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Any concern, any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item of business. Resolution 22-21, a resolution of the City of Normandy, Missouri, reestablishing and appointing 5 members to the Board of Adjustment. I need to find that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How many members are originally on the board?
It's required 5.
Do we
That's
have-
by ordinance.
Do we have any members now?
We're not recognizing them because we can't find any minutes that reflect that they were ever approved by the board. And anybody that was interested, they're being reappointed.
Okay,
Yeah, nobody was kicked off.
okay.
That's fine. Yeah, everybody that was there, I approached first. And I'm having difficulty locating that ordinance. Can I have your copy? Here it is. Here, I've got it. A resolution of the City of Normandy, Missouri, as reestablishing and appointing 5 members to the Board of Adjustment. And those 5 members are all longtime Normandy residents: Dud Aiken, Ed James, who served on the school board for quite some time, Claudia Boyd, Bob Reed, who was a previous council member here, and Bruce Gardner, another long-term resident in the City of Normandy. And I think most of you know these folks.
And to clarify, Bruce Gardner is the one who was listed as to be determined.
Yes, you don't have the updated one. I'm sorry. Bruce Gardner is the 1-year appointment.
We got that by email.
Yep. Is there a motion to approve these appointments?
Here,
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Is Bruce here?
The only question that I have is that is Third Ward heavy?
It is very third ward
And
heavy.
the problem that I have is like with the first and the second, not being represented.
I can explain that. I sent out an email to every council person. In addition to that, I called 3, maybe 4 council people, and they were just unable to find people that would be willing to serve. I went and knocked on a few doors in Ward 2, and with no luck. I made every attempt to get better representation on this board. And if these appointments didn't have to be made tonight, I was willing to put it off. But we've got some issues that need to be addressed, and I need this board in place.
Yeah. I just want to,
I did make a
no,
real
this is
honest
just,
effort, yeah.
in general, like, I think we all need to remember that the transparency, like with our mission and vision, was not there from previous administrations, and we don't want to continue on with the 70 divide
Right.
that kind of like that our city has a problem with. So like in the future, not just us as council members, but also us as citizens, like if you don't participate, you cannot complain. That's all I'm saying. It's just, that's just how it is. So if you are 5 years in and it's like, why are we doing this? Because if you look at this, these appointments are for, the longest one in Ward 4 is for 5 years. So if you're not participating, and I know people have things that go on and everything like that, but if you're not participating, then you can't really complain about the process. So, just a word of caution.
Catch me up where we are in this process by a motion and a second.
You have a motion and a second.
Any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Are you signing a resolution number on this?
Yes, that is 2221.
Thank you. All right. Next item of business on the agenda. presentation on flock cameras. Is representative here?
He's on Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, cool.
Hey,
Hi, good evening. Can you all hear me?
yes, very well, thank you.
I will go ahead and share my screen, if that's okay.
Yes.
My name is Hector Soliman Valdez. I am a community affairs manager with Flock Safety. My team is responsible for any public meetings and answering questions from the public. Lisa Dunn, who is your territory sales manager, is not available or out of town right now, so I'll be presenting virtually for her. Wanted to start off by discussing or talking a little bit about the why in Flock Safety and a history of our company. We are an Atlanta-based company. We were actually founded when our CEO was a victim of a crime. He spoke to police and they let him know that the clue that they needed, or what they needed to solve that crime, was a license plate. So he set out to build this technology where it would be affordable for neighborhoods such as himself. So for the folks in the room, ALPR, license plate reading cameras, have been around for over 30 years at this point. Really what Flock did is revolutionize the way that, that the cameras work, as far as their ability with their vehicle fingerprinting, so you'd be able to search by vehicle characteristics, and also by having a service model where you're not purchasing a camera that's tens of thousands of dollars, you're actually renting one. We put them in the community and service them for you, so at a much reduced cost. So as I mentioned earlier, our founder saw a need to work with his local law enforcement to create technologies that would provide the evidence that they need to follow up on crimes that are occurring. As many folks know, crime is on the rise nationwide. So this provides police who have limited resources the ability to follow up on locations and crimes that are occurring in their community. So I want to dive in a little bit into how the technology works. Kind of threw out a couple of tools out there, LPR, etc. This is actually what the camera looks like, what you see on your screen. Top right-hand side is the footage that your law enforcement agency would be receiving, whether it's an alert or in their searches. As you can see, it's actually just the back of a vehicle, license plate, and vehicle characteristics, right? So that's what can be searched. You can't see into the vehicle. There's no people, no facial recognition, and no traffic enforcement involved with this. It's also really important to talk about what the technology is not. Right? So I mentioned it's not facial recognition. It's also not tied to PII, personal identifiable information. As I mentioned before, it's just a license plate and the vehicle. Your law enforcement agency will then have to do their due diligence, investigate, and find out who's in that vehicle. So we're really just reporting them to a stolen vehicle or other wanted vehicles. Something that's unique to Flock is that our standard retention is 30 days. So 30 days is what we found to be a number or an amount of dates that works really well to solve crime, but again, protecting folks' privacy. An example here is that many of you all know you may be out of town for a couple of weeks. It's important for you to have enough time to be able to report a crime to your law enforcement officer. Let's say you notice something is stolen on your property, and then they have enough time to investigate and find some clues as to what may have happened, but then not enough time so that it's long-term surveillance. Now, I want to break down how the technology works in 3 different ways. There's the proactive side of this. So your law enforcement agency would receive NCIC alerts, letting them know, if it's a stolen vehicle, felony vehicle, etc. And also it's investigative, right? So your police department, let's say you do report a crime, you may have ring footage and you see, hey, it's a red Toyota, you didn't get that license plate, which is what the police will need to really commence their investigation. They'll then be able to enter in that data to be able to find leads, find that license plate. And it's also a deterrent. There are many jurisdictions in Missouri that have our cameras and nationwide. The folks that are committing crimes know which communities will have the cameras and which ones don't. So the fact that you all in Normandy will have these cameras will serve as a deterrent as well. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Flock was started by somebody in the private sector, a resident just such as yourself, and privacy is at the core of all we do. Our mission is to eliminate crime, but also by protecting folks' privacy. So unlike legacy providers, footage is owned by the city and the department. We never are able to share it or sell. We will never sell it, and we also don't have access to it. As I mentioned before, this is taking the human bias out of crime solving, right? So we are letting police know, hey, this is a vehicle that is wanted, so they are alerted for about those vehicles and not necessarily stopping any vehicles that they may deem to be suspicious, right? So really alerting them to actual vehicles that have already been flagged as wanted. Also, as far as encryption, our data is stored in AWS Government Cloud, AES 256 encryption. Layman's term, that is the highest level of encryption available. It's the same level of encryption used by agencies such as the FBI and CIA to store their data. Your police department will have to enter in a search reason. It'll be a case number or a reference number for every search that they perform, and there's an audit trail associated with that. And I want to mention again, there's no traffic enforcement. This is not red light cameras. It's not tied to PII, as I said, so there's no way to provide a specific person a ticket. This is an investigative tool. I wanted to also dive in how this is actually helping solve and prevent crime. It's, as I said earlier, widely adopted in your state. You see a list here of cities in your area. Additionally, as you see here, Chesterfield PD has our cameras. This is a story where we were alerted about a welfare check, somebody that was thinking of harming themselves. The police was able to identify that vehicle using the license plate and locate it. Finding that vehicle in a parking lot in their community, the person had just started to harm themselves, but they had gotten there just in time to be able to stop that from becoming a tragedy. Also, Jefferson County in Missouri, deputies have found and recovered a missing person due to a real-time alert. Deputies investigating a stolen boat and trailer from an ambulance shed. Based on only the vehicle description, investigators were able to locate the vehicle in Flock. A suspect was arrested and the stolen property was returned. Deputies have also investigated stolen purse in that area where multiple credit cards were stolen from a Walmart in High Ridge. They were able to identify that suspect vehicle, but it did not have license plates. As I said earlier, with that vehicle fingerprinting technology, they were able to search the description whilst searching for Flock. They narrowed it down, found the vehicle due to some unique features, and then apprehended that suspect. This is actually a story out of California that made national news. What made national news was actually that, there was folks trying to commit a smash and grab in a jewelry store, but the security there did have weapons themselves, made sure that they left, but police believed in that area that they would actually return, escalate their level of violence, and that's what they did. But what the police did, knowing that this may happen, was put an alert in our system so that when that vehicle returned to the shopping center, they were able to intercept the vehicle before, again, the violence escalated. So this is showing you that preventative portion as well. This story is one that is, to me, one of the most impactful. For the folks in the room that may be aware or kind of know about law enforcement, stranger on stranger abductions are extremely rare. This is a story out of Chamblee, Georgia. As I said earlier, our company was founded in Atlanta. We have a robust network in that area. Amber Alert was issued at 12:33. That mother was able to give a description of the folks that took her son. The police was able to quickly start following up, as I said earlier, doing their due diligence, doing an investigation, finding a plate, putting an alert in that plate, They actually found the vehicle in Alabama and worked with local jurisdictions there to make that arrest and return the child back to their mother within 6 hours. So really impactful and important, especially in a case like this where every single minute counts. Wanted to just show you all a little bit how the cameras can be set up depending on your local jurisdiction and where Lisa is working with your department to place the cameras. So they are infrastructure free. So solar panel provides power and they are connected to the internet through wirelessly. And so these are some kind of a selection or cross section of what they may look like in your community. With that said, I did a lot of talking. I'm happy to answer any specific questions that may come up that you may have.
Council or Chief?
I have a question for you, sir. So I'm trying to think through the what ifs and the scenarios of using such a system, which commendable as it may be or has been. What kind of safety nets do you have in place? Because you mentioned an officer would go in, enter a case number or a complaint number or what have you as a reference that for their needs to tie it into and make use of your system, right? What methods do you have, what recourse would you have as a private company if this is improperly used, whether inadvertently or maliciously by a law enforcement officer? Like that, this is getting really, really, really into privacy and Fourth Amendment rights here.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the system will not allow any searches to occur without a search reason. They would have to enter in that reason. Your law enforcement agency's policy, and not sure if there's someone there from the department, don't speak for them, states that they will have to enter in a valid search reason. It will typically have a kind of a frequency in which they will be auditing the account at an administrative level. Flock itself also provides what's called a transparency portal. The transparency portal is a website that we actually host for the city, and all searches can be shown there if the department so decides to do so. And the public will have insight. They won't know which license plates they're searching. Obviously, that is private information as far as investigations, but they will be able to see, hey, how many searches are being performed, how many hot list alerts are being received. So there's insight as well from the community.
So would that correlate to, hey, this particular officer at this date performed a search and issued a active search for a license plate of some kind? Like you could retroactively backtrack who did what and to what end.
Exactly. So there will be a user ID. You won't see the officer's name because there's ongoing investigations, et cetera. But that will be, if the department needs to perform any investigations internally in alignment with their policy around the LPR, they will have the information or their ability to do so.
Okay, and then a follow-up to this would then be, I'm assuming it would be based on department by department, but information obtained by our officers then passed on to, for instance, our prosecuting attorney or our judge, what have you, whichever the chain of command would go. That would then show would it show a chain, an established chain that does not infringe on people's privacy? I'm sorry, that's poorly worded, but I don't have a...
No, I think I understand your question. They will be able to, following what, and if there's someone in the room from the police department, I don't want to speak on your behalf. Typically, if there is something that's part of an ongoing investigation that's being provided or in collaboration with the DA, there are a set of rules and protocols around that as well.
Okay.
Mr. Valdez, you stated that after 30 days, everything is deleted on your end. Is there some way we can store that information ourselves? Because, I mean, sometimes crimes may take 40 days or 6 months. At least we'll have something.
Yeah, so the data has what's called a time to live TTL, where it will be deleted automatically. Our standard retention is at 30 days. In conversations with your department, we will extend that if an elected body such as yourself feels that you would like to have a longer retention period. We do see that the 30 days works well for investigations while protecting civil liberties, but we leave that up to each individual community.
But we still won't be able to have that for ourselves.
So if your department does, let's say on week 3, find footage that they're going to use, you will be able to download that onto their servers, again, following their department policies. At that point, the data is stored with whatever policies or storage retention policies that your department has. It's outside of the system. Only within the Flock system is it deleted at that 30-day mark.
Chief, does that make sense?
Yes, and I'll dive into it during my report and answer some questions.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right.
I have questions. What's your, since 2017, what's been your misidentification rate?
So the policy that the department will have is to have a human verification of a plate. What they're seeing aligns with what is there. Our positive rate is about 99%, but obviously with technology and part of the policy itself that departments will enact is they have to verify each hit, right? So that usually, and again, don't want to speak for the police, is through CLETS or different systems to verify that is the correct vehicle.
So your identification rate now is 99% accuracy?
Correct.
Over how many vehicles? Like ballpark?
I can say that is currently. I don't have the information since we were founded in 2017.
What about like the removal of vehicles once they're identified? Does that happen at the state, local, and federal level? So like if there's a vehicle in our community, does it go from Normandy to state police to the federal system, or does it stay in Normandy on our system? Like, do all of your Flock systems talk to each other?
Yeah, so if I'm understanding your question, it's if there's a vehicle of interest in your department, or that is of interest to your department, and they put an alert in that vehicle, they may choose to do that internally and put an expiration date within the system. If there's another aspect to it that's outside of Flock, it's the national database. That is a list that is updated every day, a couple times a day. We ping it 4 times a day. So that is a separate process where your department or any other agency actually purifies that list as the day goes on.
So we can choose to keep it within our system and not to share the information with outside?
Correct. Your department owns all of your data. You are the ones, and system administrator would be the one that allows sharing with other agencies at any time, and that they can share today, resend that tomorrow if department policies change.
Okay, when it comes to policing with using this system, is there a correlation between the effects of insurance costs on a community, communities that have this system? So for instance, if we have this system, like you said, it's in Chesterfield, and they have a much lower rate of incidents than we do, and they also have much lower insurance rates than people here, which we already know that in Black and brown communities there's more insurance that you have to pay because of where you live and your zip code. Is there a correlation between us using your system and then like your insurance rates will go down in your community? Because
I love that question because I wish that was the case. We definitely, our technology as Flock has only been around for 5 years. I hope that eventually that would be the case. As a earlier adoption area, that definitely should be something that will be in consideration. I don't want to speak for the insurance companies. As you probably know, though, if the incidence of recovery goes up in an area, now their insurance costs will go down. But again, don't want to speak to how they create the policies, but there's nothing right now that says if you have ALPR, your rates will go down.
Can you speak to like the cost and the maintenance of the system?
Definitely. Yeah, the cameras cost $2,500 per year per camera. There is a one-time $350 installation fee. So that includes the permitting, the installation itself, and training of the police department to how to use the software, ongoing customer service, and if anything occurs to the cameras, wear and tear, etc., we will come out and replace the cameras ourselves.
What's your radius for like one camera?
The cameras see about, give or take, 60 feet into the road. They're in the back of the vehicles, right? So they're taking images of the back of vehicles, 2 lanes of traffic.
Mr. Valdez, I've got one question, and then I'd like you to take a few minutes and finalize your presentation. In the interest of time, we're going to have to move on and then take this to a workshop. I'm a bit confused if information gathered in the city of Normandy is kept within the city of Normandy. The example that you gave that there was an abduction and the car was located in another state. How is that possible if the information is kept within jurisdictions?
Well, that's the power of Flock, right? So those departments are sharing with each other. They are sharing custom hot list alerts. They are issuing Amber Alerts, right? So other departments, even if they're not directly sharing, may see that Amber Alert come out and then enter it into their system. The department itself actually anywhere in the United States would receive an Amber Alert through the system directly. So that is how there's a collaboration there. But again, the department itself will decide how widely to share their network and cameras.
Thank you. Do you have anything else for us?
So that is my presentation. Happy to answer any questions if they come up afterwards. But thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right.
Should I stay on, or
Go ahead. You broke up a little bit.
should I stay on, or is this the end of the item?
This is the end of this issue at this meeting. Yeah, we're going to take it up. The chief is going to have some words to say about it. He'll have an opinion to give to the council also. So you're welcome to stay on.
I'll stay on. Thank you.
Next item of business, citizens' comments. Anybody want to come to the podium and address any concern you may have?
I've got a sign-up sheet.
Oh, I didn't know we had gone that direction. Go ahead if you want to.
Pat,
Dolly.
Deli, okay,
Okay. Just wanted to, there's flyers out there. Pat Dolly, I live on St. Anne's Lane, and I'm a member of the Parks and Recreation Committee. Here's our chair. Just wanted to promote this. It's our first and hopefully not our last movie night. It's going to be at Hosel a week from Friday. We're going to hopefully make some money by selling concessions, but the event itself is free. We rented the movie for a year, so that we're going to do it this year on the 22nd of October, and then next year the 14th of October, so we can get 2 times out of one $300 rental fee. If this is a success, we'd like to do it in the spring, and we'll just see how it goes. What's the movie? Hotel Transylvania. Yeah. Any questions or anything for us? Okay, so hope to come. We're having a little bit of a hard time promoting it. I tried taking it around to the schools, and it has to have the permission of the communications director, Chris something, And he said he would do it, and then I've checked with people and he hasn't done it. And so, anybody have any ins to how to distribute this information? Like if the city had a list of all the email addresses of its residents, that would be awesome, but we don't. I think proactively, on the quarterly newsletter, I was gonna talk to Sam about what the deadline is for the quarterly newsletter and like get the spring, you know, like going forward, we can think ahead and use that as an avenue. Would that be appropriate?
It would be.
Okay, so anyway, that's just, you know, we're learning, we're just learning.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody, game on passing flyers?
I can take a day.
Didn't hear, what did you say? I didn't
Passing
hear.
out flyers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good
There
evening,
you go.
Doug Aiken, I live on Augusta Avenue. And I had a favor to ask, maybe the first and second ward. We have the same problem that the zoning people have, is that it's, the membership of the commissions or the boards is skewed one way and not total. Anyway, you've got in front of you something called a certified local government. Some of you might be familiar with that term, I don't know. It's basically a network of communities in the state and in the country that have preservation, that highlight preservation, that encourage preservation, and it gives local folks like us a chance to interact and to work with the state and the federal government in the national preservation plan. Now, Normandy is a certified local government. We got our certification November of 2013, and we had to do a couple of things. We had to adapt an ordinance or adopt an ordinance, preservation ordinance. We have to maintain a commission, and our commission is 7 people. And we have to do education and outreach, and we also have to conduct an ongoing survey of the community. And we've done that. We did that. We did a survey back in 2016, at the end of 2016 and into 2017. We paid $5,000 to a consultant, and we got a grant from the state, actually through the National Parks Service. We got a grant. We paid 40%, and the feds paid the 60%. And it's called Spotless Town Architectural Survey. A copy should be in the file. Sam, I think Sam told me. We gave you a copy.
Yes.
Who knows what happened a year or two ago? You know, things were just all over the place, even further back than that. So, where was I? We did the survey. It's available for you guys look at. If you look at the second page, that is a typical worksheet for each property. And I think in Spotless Town there are about 64 or 65 properties that were researched.
In
No.
Normandy?
In Normandy, Spotless Town is a little subdivision up here on San Diego, San Bernardino, and in fact, Spotless Town was one of the 4 subdivisions of Normandy that came together in 1945 to form the city of Normandy, because everybody was scrambling. If none of you remember, I sort of remember it. Scrambling because there were communities land grabbing, so we figured, well, we better get ours before it's too late. Well, anyway, the commission only has 4 members to this day. One is from Glen Echo, because we have 2 slots open to non-residents, as long as the community they're in is contingent or next to Normandy. We have one from the 4th Ward, Father Nick, pastor at St. Anne's, and then there's 2 of us from the 3rd Ward. So we're missing the 1st and 2nd Ward. I'd love to have some names given to the mayor. He makes the appointments. We're 3 members short. We haven't met in a year and a half. Sorry about that. So we're not in compliance to keep our certification status. We're not the only one in Missouri. I've already talked to the SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office, and they said, yeah, there's a number of communities that are sort of struggling at this point. I know preservation may not be top of mind for anybody. We've got all these other issues and problems to deal with, but preservation should be considered in almost every city decision that we make. So, could you get a list of potential people?
I'll walk down.
We've tried to, we've tried to do it for various different boards, and I will start canvassing again.
Okay. All right.
It's
So
kind of
that-
like a crapshoot. Sometimes people are more willing than other times.
Somebody in the building trades, an architect, maybe a real estate person, those are the kind of people we'd like to have on, but anyway, that's my
Doug,
plug.
what do you do then? So you identify buildings that are historical or areas?
Yes to all of that.
And is there a plaque then identifying these areas, or?
No, we don't have that yet. We need to get
You said
just the
you
basics
have 5
finished.
people,
Hmm?
and you've got one from Glen Echo,
We got 4 on the commission, we need 3 more to make it 7.
Oh, 7.
And they're appointed for 3-year staggered terms.
Who's the other person in Ward 3 besides yourself?
Ed James. And Victoria Valier is Glen Echo. And they're gonna be part of Normandy soon, I'd say within the next year or so, don't you think, Mark?
Yes.
Doug, I have a question. Any of you guys have that report from a few years ago?
Spotless Town?
It was on the website, and I believe it made the transfer, but
Yeah, I downloaded it on my phone.
Sort of an interesting place.
Yeah.
It really was. We want to do another one. We'd like to do another one, but we have to get our house in order first. That's what I'm asking.
And at one time, they had their own bakery and grocery store and stuff like that, didn't they? All in their little community.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Okay.
you, Doug.
Thank you.
Terry Gannon?
Oh, I'm waiting until I have something to say, but I didn't want to not be on the list.
Thank you, Stacey Parker.
Oh, I know.
Hi, I'm Ida and I live on Skyview. I'm concerned, I have a neighbor and since the beginning of the year, he's had quite a few cars coming and going. He repairs them, people come and they also purchase cars. Well, this last Friday or Saturday, I walked out of my door and there was 2 cars in front of my house trying to purchase cars there. And I've talked to Tony concerning it. I left a message with you, Mayor Beckman, and I would just like to know what's the follow-up and how will it be handled? It's a residential area, not a commercial area. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we talked about this, and we still have the same problem.
Yeah, no, the police have been there repeatedly. And it's not being ignored, it's I'll let you address that. When you give a report, you can address that. Anyone else? Go on. Who's on the-
Malik Lendl? Oh, I didn't.
Oh, Stacy didn't get a chance.
I'm sorry.
Stacy Parker, I live far away. Oh, hey. So I was going to try to be solution focused because there's some ideas I think we're all going to need to come together on. So I live in the cul-de-sac. It's a double cul-de-sac, like behind the church, down that little road between the church and the nursing home. And so when my family moved here, like about 30 years ago, there was a neighborhood watch in effect, and it was a really good thing. And so it kind of, petered out. But we recently brought it back. So right now we have like maybe 4 neighbors. We had a neighbor go out and she bought like these inexpensive neighborhood watch signs, and so we kind of like put them on our lawns and windows and everything. So we're trying to get more information on what makes a successful neighborhood watch. So we're bringing that back because what we noticed is we have new neighbors coming in. And so, and this is kind of inspired by an article that was written about Angie Klopfer. Is that how?
My mother.
Yes. So back in the 60s, there was an African-American family. I think it was the first African-American family that moved into.
It was
Norris.
Rodney.
It was the Jarretts.
Okay, all right. And so, yeah. And so her mother say we need to welcome these folks, you know, because Normandy is a place we want everyone to feel comfortable and we want everyone to be included. So just being kind of inspired by that, said why don't we like create some type of, I know it used to be called a welcome wagon back in the day, but just when we are aware that new people are moving into the community, to kind of reach out to them, let them know where resources are. And I know there's been, and I made a comment about, you know, the whole dog policy kind of thing. People are like, well, I wasn't aware of that. But that would be one of the things that we could share with new people that move into the community, like what the policies are, how soon you need to get your occupancy permit, like how tall your grass can be. You know, and there's fun things too, you know, like things to do around Normandy, which brings me to my next kind of idea. There used to be a parade that went through Normandy. I remember this. I'm not making this up, am I? We didn't used to have a parade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fate to Normandy Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should bring, you know, things like, and I think the movie idea is great to bring out, you know, kids, families, and everything. But yeah, I think the parade would be a great idea, and I'm actually volunteering to pull that together because I have experience putting together like large events. And then I was thinking like a garden club because I noticed that a lot of the municipalities around Normandy actually have some type of garden club, and that's a great first step into like the whole idea of sustainability. So you start with gardens and you kind of ease on into that. And then my last idea was having like Saturdays at the parks when it gets like a little, like I guess next year when it's warmer, just to have some kind of activities for families again to get together and just kind of hang out. So yeah, those are my ideas. Again, I'm trying to be solution focused, and I am volunteering my time and talent towards making these things happen.
I can assure you that offer will be taken advantage of.
Don't we have an opening on the Parks and Rec?
She'd be a perfect candidate for that.
Yeah.
We do.
All right, Mayor Beckman, take it.
Needs to be yours.
Go ahead.
Me, yeah. I wrote down
What's
some.
your name, sir?
My name is Malik Lindell. I'm from 7711 Circle Drive. I wanted to make a few comments about two things. So one, the flock safety thing, which was addressed. Like, I feel like kind of concerned about that because we're not Chesterfield, we're not Jefferson County, and I mean, I feel pretty safe in my community, but I don't feel safe because of like the cars and the roads. That's where I don't feel safe. So I think like before we can have like flock safety, we need to have something that people would actually want to steal from people. We don't have a community grocery store or nothing in the bounds of the neighborhood. So I think before we even consider that, we should consider maybe having a community-owned grocery store or having some other sort of community-centers in our bounds before we even talk about having flock safety. But other than that, I think I also just want to inform people, like we do have the MoDOT meeting tomorrow. I probably won't be able to show up there because I have work, but if anyone could show up, please do. I think it's important that we address like what we want and really press them on like making sure that community members actually have a say and not just, oh, they're listening to us, but they're going to do what they want anyways. And personally, I think that sort of stuff should be put to a referendum so that we can actually put a decision as a community what we want to see in our community. So, like, I want to see safe roads, and I want to see like just 2 lanes of traffic so we could safely walk across the roads, because like I think we deserve to be safe when we walk to our community members and connect with people and go to wherever we need to go, whether that's a grocery store, hopefully in the future we get our own, but whether it's a grocery store or school or wherever else. And also I hope that for those of y'all who are going to be at at the meeting. I hope y'all just really press MoDOT, like really press them about like, are they going to let us vote on stuff, or are they going to just sort of trample over like our little dreams, right? So just making sure that they address that, and then also if they're actually collaborating with other organizations, like for instance, Metro, like we have just a big accessibility issue in the area in general. We're fortunate we do have like 2 close by Metro stops, but like the buses, I would say like they just don't come consistent enough. I would say that's just another issue with accessibility. But that's sort of my main issues that I wanted to address. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, that'll conclude the citizens' comments. I do want to say, when I hear citizens' comments that I heard tonight versus what we were doing a year ago, it's inspiring. That was a nice session. Thank you. Moving on. I need to find my agenda again. You have one handy?
Yes.
Report of all. Sure. All right, yeah, thank you, Rick. Report of officers, I've got 3 items, I'll be brief. Pastor Renee at Murchison asked me to mention this. Saturday, October 15th, Community Care Day. You'll be available to have COVID testing, COVID vaccines, and flu shots right at the corner up here. Also, 7733 Natural Bridge. We do have a preliminary floor plan. Following that, we are going to get a cost estimate. We do not have that yet. Following that, we're going to schedule a meeting with a bond specialist and also put out an RFQ to find a real estate developer for this property. I think that we're not going to wait on that cost estimate. We're going to move forward with those conversations and discussions and get that RFP out. And again, the direction we're headed is, what does it cost to move across the street? Can we afford it? Yes or no? And if we can, finalize a plan. If we can't, make a determination of what to do with the real estate that we've got over there. And we'll know that. I was hoping to have those numbers for you, but I don't. Very soon, we're going to have a cost estimate. Last item, which was already mentioned, public meeting, Florissant Road, Wednesday, October 12th, 4 o'clock at the J.C. Penney Conference Center at UMSL. I will tell you, Sam and I met with the gentleman that's hosting that meeting, Aaron. It's my impression that the community input is going to make a difference. I wasn't left with the idea that they are just going to ramrod a plan through there. I think they genuinely want to hear from the community, so the community has to show up to express their opinions on what's going to go on. We did press them about a short-term solution, about the bridge, the trail bridge that goes over Natural Bridge. I don't anticipate a short-term solution. I think it could be accomplished with a can of paint, but the state just doesn't work that way. It's a cumbersome process for them to make improvements. That's all I have.
And which road is this going?
Florissant Road, between the interstate, the portion that affects us is between the interstate and Natural Bridge. And there's going to be, well, I don't want to give their presentation for them, but they're reducing a lane, adding some walk paths, that type of thing. And their concern was that we were going to object to that. Well, heck no, bring it on, right? So, but he'll have his presentation, and then again, I came away from that with the general impression that they want community input on this.
When I read what the structure of the meeting is, it's like come in, get the handouts, talk with them individually, that there wasn't going to be a presentation. So they're having it from 4 to 6, but it's like a walk-in, get the information, talk with them. Did you get that on the handout that Yolanda sent us?
Yeah, I did not get that, but that's fine. However they present this is, what
So
we
people
need is,
to know
we need
it's
is
not-
attendance.
Yeah, it's not 4 to 6, 2 hours. You can go in, you can say what you want, you can read the handouts, give
Okay.
them yeah, that's what it says on this.
Good.
It's like an open house.
Anyone from the council have A report?
I do.
Karen?
The first one I was talking about is the police presence on Bermuda Road. It's the speeding is getting it's really ridiculous. Now they don't even stay in their lane. They just, if you drive it too slow like I did on my way here, the speed limit, they'll just go around you and almost collide with the incoming traffic. So it'd be nice if we have police presence on Bermuda. The second, and I know we're gonna talk about pit bulls, but we have this stray dogs in Ward 1. They're just walking like they're humans, like they have a house to go to, but we have a lot of stray dogs that we need to talk about. How can we, I know there's no place for these stray dogs, but we have to have a solution on what to do with these stray dogs. The police can't do it, and I know Rick cannot do it, the code enforcers, but we have to have some kind of solution to what to do with these stray dogs, because we have a lot of pit bulls in that area, and we have to, for the safety of our people, we have to do something about it.
Thank you.
I'll go a step further. About 10 days ago, I was going down Dartmoor, which is the elementary school is just to the right. It's a 20 miles an hour speed zone. I was passed on Dartmoor going down the hill. That's how out of hand that the traffic is in Ward 1. It's like a racetrack. If you're gonna make a left, if you're coming from the highway, gonna make a left on Dartmoor, you better look twice, because they could be going around you while you're gonna make a left. That's how bad it is in Ward 1. Now, I have seen some traffic as far as the police coming through. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is, we need some consistency there. I've seen them pass while they're letting school in the morning. I'm one of those people that drop my granddaughter off at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they're going around the lights over the double orange lines as they're going in and letting these first and second.
And I think everybody's in agreement that the situation has gotten insane.
Yeah.
What we
really
need
has.
what we need is a solution. It's just gotten insane on Florissant Road and Bermuda Boat. I mean, on Natural Bridge and Bermuda Boat. It is absolute. I will tell you, 7:30 Sunday morning, I had a car go down to Augusta while I'm sitting on my front porch, and I believe he was going over 60 miles an hour. One chasing the other, 7:30 on a Sunday morning. I didn't even call it in. It's like, what's the point? And they're gone.
Yeah, the thing about it, as far as passing people, just like at Bermuda Road and Bellwood, they're not even stopping at the stop sign anymore.
No.
I think the problem is well identified and everybody appreciates it. What we need is a solution.
Yes.
Right.
Anyone else?
No.
Yes,
I thought we were going down the line.
Oh,
No, I'm fine.
okay.
yeah, I got a few things here. First of all, Mr. Locke, on the 7669 Florissant Road, I think you spoke to him before, saying about the tree situation, the fence and stuff, so I just want you to maybe look into that a little bit more. He gave me a call.
Yeah, that's on me.
Yeah,
And
that-
I'll get him.
And that would also be my direct immediate neighbor.
Yeah.
And I hear about it weekly as well, so.
Okay, and,
We'll get it taken care of.
thank you, sir. And, yes, we got some really good news here. November 12th and December 10th, we're gonna have the Gateway Chess League. They're gonna host a chess tournament at Lucas Crossing.
Good.
This is something new. This is gonna be great for our kids, and it's gonna be great. And then chess is coming back to our area.
What is the dates?
November 12th. It's an all-day event, and December 10th.
Are those two separate tournaments?
Separate tournament.
Okay,
We
good.
have two here.
Good.
They're hosting two.
The times, the times are.
It's gonna be like 9 until 5 or something like that. They'll have concessions and the whole works. It'd be great for you to come down and watch some of the great chess players. And this is gonna be the entire area of St. Louis, I'm talking. The kids are coming in from all the high schools, maybe about 250 kids or something.
Any of your students, Ray?
Some of our students, we got some students that we're gonna bring back. The pandemic kind of hurt us, you know, because we were rolling in 17, 18, 19, pandemic hit us. So we got some of those kids, actually those kids are in high school now. They're freshmen, so they're gonna be playing also. And also supporting us, we got a guy with UMSL that loves chess, and they're talking about getting a chess team at UMSL to compete against Webster University. So, you know, our city, in our city of Normandy, our kids can go to elementary school, middle school, high school, and go to University of UMSL right there and not leave Normandy and get higher education. And we can do that. They don't have to leave our city, and that's what we're planning on doing. You know, getting together. It's a process, but we got some great people. We got Mr. Kenneth on the board. He's working well for us. So actually, the mayor and I played over the summer. We had some good chess matches.
Yes, we
He's a
did.
pretty good player there. And of course, David can play too. So I just wanted to get that out there and maybe come out there and see our kids play. You know, and also we have tennis coming back to Lucas Crossing also this winter. So I just want to thank you for your time. And,
Mayor Mark, I saw you have the Care Day flyer in
Yes.
front of you.
I'll pass
I
it
made
down.
copies on the table. It's this Saturday at Murchison Methodist Church. I don't know the times. What?
11 to 2.
11 to 2, so there's flyers. And then HUD is having public hearings throughout the whole area from next week through the middle of November. I made flyers, and they want community input as to how they're going to spend their $8 million next year. So there's flyers on the table.
Thank you. Yolanda?
There were some motorcycles parked at night at the bar and grill, like on the sidewalk when you go down the road. And they're not in parking spaces, they're just in front of the bar. If we could not have that, that would be great. And then on St. Mary's Lane, even though we have the ordinance about commercial vehicles, they do not park their trucks in their business. They are behind a house, a residential house. So it's like part of a house that they park on, which I think they own, and then also the parking lot, but then they also have a huge warehouse garage, and they never park in there. And now that we have this ordinance, it would be nice if they actually followed it. The other thing is, like they were saying in Ward 1, we do have owners in the 4th Ward that take their dogs out. They need to be on a leash, and you know, people just open the door and just let their dogs do their business and everything. If Rick could like come around in the morning, like usually when dog hours are, because you gotta put your dog out in the morning because he's scratching at the door. So if he comes at like opportune times, like in the morning when people have their dogs out before they go to work, like usually it's like about 8 to 10 or whatever. If he just rolls around to see those dogs, like, and have a presence there, that would be good.
You sent video too.
Yeah. And then the other thing was, at night or in the morning, there has been a large amount of trash on the parking lot between Afro World and the bar, and also in front of the bar. And that is becoming a problem. And also, there are chairs that are being set out for, I guess, bouncing purposes, but they are not being put back into the bar. So if that could not happen, also, that would be good.
Thank you. All right.
I have something.
Oh, go ahead, Tony.
As far as the movie night up at Hosea Park, that's gonna be on the 22nd, right?
Right.
So to get the word out.
Yeah, right, the 21st, Friday.
21st.
Friday, the 21st.
Oh,
Okay.
that's true.
To get the word out, maybe we can pass some flyers out in Ward 1 and Ward 2. Are you guys game?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you can get some,
Want to stick around after the meeting to get some flyers?
Sure.
Okay,
pass 20 out a day. I mean,
okay, thank you.
Because since it's in the immediate area.
Right,
You know,
that'd be great.
people can walk right up to the park. Okay, you can do that.
Thank you.
No problem. It's right in our backyard, so.
Chief, what do you have for us?
All right. Has some great work being done by police officers. I know we have some complaints, we always have some issues, but the guys and gals handled 593 calls for service. They made, they wrote 76 police reports. That included 14 arrests. They wrote 78 citations, and keeping track now, we had 42 failure to yields. Now, just to put a perspective on that, the 78 citations were just for the city of Normandy alone. And so we're trying to hit them. The sergeants, excuse me, the supervisors are on these guys, and they're out there producing. They're out there trying to stop as many as they can. But if you see the numbers, we had more than half. We wrote 78, but like 42 they refused to stop. And we have to quickly cancel these because these guys are they're flying, and they refuse to stop, and they're horrible drivers. The majority of these 78 citations I was looking at, we get a violation and also no driver's license. So these people are not even getting driver's licenses. And when we try to get the cars that have no insurance, we're working on being able to tow those vehicles because they don't need to be out there because they're going to cause accidents that can't be paid for. Answering a couple of questions. So the stray dogs, I didn't get from the last meeting that you guys wanted to report on the stray dogs. I'll get that. I'll have that moving forward, and I'll try to produce something for you. I did have put Sergeant David Doss on it. He volunteered to take up to gather the information on the stray dogs and if we're writing citations and to whom. Unfortunately, I don't have that information. He went out on some stress-related leave for personal reasons, so that just happened. So I wasn't able to reach him to get any of that information. But we are trying to cite people. I know we've got them all moving around. We have acquiesced, and we're going to get a kennel to put in the police side, so we can at least get one dog at a time. But you know, it's hard because I can't have an officer off the street babysitting all day. But we have to do something. So when we get a dog, at very least, you know, if we get Fido and he's not causing any problems, we can pet him. But if we get an aggressive dog, that's when we're going to use the kennel and try to make some headway and get a hold of these people and stop that. Skyview, real quick. We'll go back out. We'll keep going back out to Skyview. If you see them, call us. We know they're doing it. It's hard to catch them, but we have towed no less than 9 cars from over there since I think it was 5-6 meetings ago. The mayor put us on it, and we've had a couple of guys that they pretty much make it their, when they have the time, they make it their mission to go over there. And if we see something that's unlicensed, we put the sticker on it, and we've been aggressive as far as towing them. But apparently they have a quick turnover, and we need to get on that owner and see about writing him up for some business license violations. And we did presence on Bermuda, writing the tickets. Courtyard Bar. Did we snatch a license from them, or either a liquor or a business license?
We did not revoke. We chose to not
Correct.
issue a new one.
There was no revocation or any termination of their license.
Okay.
It's a little more, there was no revocation or termination.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Okay, so that we're not laxing on that, but we'll try to address the motorcycles and whatnot on the sidewalks.
So,
yes.
So, excuse me, Andy, what do you mean then? Mayor Mark is saying the liquor license hasn't been renewed?
This is something I'd like to discuss in closed session.
Oh, okay.
And then there were several questions or concerns about the flock camera system. Several of the things, the license input, and as far as Councilman Holm, when we put the licenses in, it's for a violation like a stolen auto or a vehicle involved in a robbery. Per CJIS, we have to make sure that we verify the information. If we have a partial plate, we don't put that in. We verify a plate, and then we put it in the flock system. And along with that, it is better for us to share our information that we have with the surrounding communities. They share with us, like we get stuff from, when they leave here, they like to go to Sunset Hills for whatever reason. And us being able to share when they come back and forth, because they'll go there, they'll steal a car here, go over there, drop it off, steal a car, and then come back over. So it's best that we do share all that information. The search, we don't conduct searches on the flock camera system. How it operates is, we'll have a car that's stolen in Normandy. We'll put the plate in, we'll get a hold of flock, put the plate in so that all the surrounding police departments are aware of it. And it just comes up as a hit, and they'll just send a notification. There's no way for us to, like, it's not a Regis check. Like, we can go behind the car on our computers and run the plate, and that is tallied by Regis. And there's laws like officers can be fired and locked up for that.
Sure, but that would then tie into my other question of controls, because you would then have to have a control in place for it, because if this is a manual system where your officers are entering in a full license plate, let's say I report my vehicle is stolen, right? You enter it in on the law enforcement side, the operational side. It flags it within the flock camera system, right? It pings it to everyone. 3 weeks later, you've recovered my vehicle, it's back in my possession, right? I'm driving along peacefully, minding my own business. I get pulled over. I'm gonna ask the officer why you pulled me over, and they say this car is stolen. I'm gonna say it's not. I'm the owner. Here's my, again, long story short, slight slippery slope. It's not even a big slippery slope. The problem, though, is when you have someone pulled over erroneously because, let's say, a Normandy police officer did not revoke or undo the flag that was on my car. I get pulled over, and then something happens with a police officer who is not well trained or not well versed in what my rights are in my vehicle, then we have an issue. Again, I write policies and procedures for a living.
Right.
I deal with risk for a living.
Right.
This is a risk that we have seen time and again, especially with our cell phones being recording devices. We have seen it where if there is a misunderstanding and the misunderstanding is an infringement on my rights and my welfare and my safety, then we're going to have big issues.
Right.
I'll leave it at that.
Right, and with that, once we recover the vehicle, it's part of our procedure, obviously, to cancel that. And so once it's canceled, even if flock, and I think we're gonna have to, that's part of the training, is that there might be an extra step that our officers are gonna have to do to contact flock and say, hey, take this out of the system, or it's just when Regis cancels it, it goes over there. That being said, once you're if you're pulled over, I mean, you don't get pulled over by flock. Flock will say, hey, we got this red Honda going this way, and then we would get behind it, we run the plate, or it doesn't come up because we took it out, as far as law enforcement. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but I'm saying, what happens when you don't take it out, when your officers don't take my car off the system to be flagged? If it's a manual process, this is fully manual because Normandy owns it, and then how does Normandy own the risk of lawsuit? How does Normandy risk the impact to us as a city, which again would probably be reserved for a workshop discussion, but.
Okay.
This issue will come to the
And
workshop.
I'll add to that, the entering of stolen vehicles, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, that's into the Regis system, which we already use.
Sure.
The flock is just kind of like an eye to that system, so that liability we're already taking on.
Yeah.
And same thing with officers misusing or abusing a database. We already have other databases, and we have policies and procedures and a level of trust with our officers.
Okay, I'd like to review those,
Yeah,
please.
I think the only thing is that, like, Andy is our attorney, and like the information that I found from the ACLU that goes into civil liberties, and the article that I sent to everybody, it starts to talk about, like, you know, search and seizure and everything, and then you get into a lot of other things. Like, for instance, if you have a police officer who wants to stalk, you know, their wife, or, you know, things like that, then you kind of get into a gray area. But I understand what you're saying. It's nice to trust our police. We like to think that all of our police officers are officer friendly, but police officers are human and they make mistakes. And I think when we talk about policing Black and brown communities, which is why I asked them that question, like, you want to police us, but like, what benefit do we get from it? Like you come and you put cameras on me, but then I still have to pay the same enormous amount of money for insurance and things like that, and my community isn't really safer. And I think, like, if we talk about Normandy and how small it is, there is no substitute for community policing. There is no substitute for knowing that. So I just want, like, when we do have that conversation, like, to make sure that, like, the community is immensely involved in like that. You know?
In the article Yolanda sent, Flock has future plans for taxing into privacy and spreading this information too. It's a 15-page article, and it was published March of 2022. So it's really current. And I think before we kind of just hear them and see the benefits that they're presenting to us, we need to research.
Well, that's what I'm gonna say. Let's do our
Workshop.
research. This is a workshop issue. We could spend an hour on this issue, and we probably are going to, and to determine whether we're interested in this service or not.
Yeah, and it's just like anything else, just like, it's just a tool. And we can use it or not. And it is costly. It hasn't proven effective, but I can see where there'll be concerns. And that's something that as a community, we have to decide if that's what we want to do in Normandy. So,
If I may.
Excuse me, can people hear from Zoom?
Who is on that?
Hi, so I guess you can't hear me. My name is Thomas Moore. I'm in Ward 3. And I
It's
also
not, Mr. Moore, this is not the appropriate time for citizens' comments.
At the end there will be.
At the end of the meeting there will be.
Okay, sorry about that.
Thank you.
So if I may.
Go ahead.
Mayor and council, if this is going to be a matter that is going to be workshopped, and it sounds like it will and should be, if there are any particular questions, legal questions, you know, the Flock system is new to me, but I'd be happy to do a little research if anyone has any particular questions, or, you know, look into how this has been implemented or even challenged in other jurisdictions, things like that. And then to follow up on what both Chief and Sam said, I mean, we have similar databases that we already use. There are policies and procedures in place, and certainly reviewing our existing policy procedures, how they can be amended to, you know, adopt to this kind of a program, or, you know, the kinds of policies and procedures that have been adopted elsewhere. These are all, I mean, as the mayor said, this is something that absolutely has to be workshopped, in any way that I can assist in offering my own expertise and opinion on it, I'd be happy to do. But I need to be, you know, kind of asked what that is, because a general legal overview of the system could be a lot, right? So, thank you.
Can we request to have Andy at the workshop?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Please.
Anything else?
Questions? I'd have one more thing on the agenda for the mayor and the council, city administrator, and the attorney. Y'all know today is my last council meeting for the city of Normandy. I'm actually retiring out of law enforcement at the end of this month. I'm staying on right now. We're transitioning. The mayor and the city administrator are actually looking to get my replacement in here as quickly and as smoothly as possible. I want to thank the council, the mayor, city administrator, our attorney, our city clerk. I want to thank you guys for allowing me to serve you for the time that I did. And I wish you all well and the best. And again, just thank you so much for your continuous support of our police department. The guys recognize it, they appreciate it, and they will still continue to do the best job they can for the city and the citizens of Normandy.
Thank you. All right, Public Works Director, written report was submitted. Oh, Chris, I didn't see you.
He's been here.
Okay.
How's it going, everyone? The things we have going on as we come to the end of mowing season, we're going into our fall season. Fall season, we will start leaf vacuuming the neighborhoods. I'm looking to try to put signs out and spend at least 2 to 3 days in each ward per week. So if we're in Ward 1, I will put the signs out, letting you know we'll be here Monday through Thursday doing leaf collection in this part and go like that. We will also do brush and branch pickup each week during the fall. When it comes to brush and branches, nothing bigger than 6 inches. We're not cutting up no trees. We're not coming in your yard. We're not getting out your driveway. If it's not on the curb, we're not getting it. Don't ask my guys. Don't call me. Because if I do it for you, I got to do it for everyone down the block.
Saying 6 inches this way?
That's the only thing we can put through our chipper. Anything bigger than that, it will tear the chipper up. It will tear the clutch up, and we'll be replacing clutches, and that's not cheap. Also, I will do a lot of in-house training with my guys down there. Will be a lot of cross-training on different equipment. We will also do a lot of winterizing all our summer mowers and everything, getting them ready for next year by sharpening blades, changing oil, and doing things like this. A lot of things that the guys don't know how to do that I will teach them how to do this fall during the winter. We will also be sending our new Ford F-350 out to get set up for snow plowing. So we'll send it out, and we'll also have a brand new 1-ton truck that should be coming. So we'll have 2 trucks to plow this winter. The Normandy Manor sign is off to Dale signs getting restored. So we will sand the posts, paint them once we get the sign back. What else? In probably a couple of weeks, we'll be winterizing the fountain. It was a great thing. It worked out perfect and everything, but we will winterize it, shut it down, make sure everything is done properly, and have it ready for next spring.
I have a question. So the leaf vacuuming, when is that gonna start?
We'll start that. It'll probably be at the end of this month or the beginning of November.
And you'll let us know what day you're gonna do it?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll let you know.
Well,
Signs out, you said?
I'm hoping to get signs out and put them from each week to week. We'll go from Ward 1, we'll be here Monday through Wednesday, and then we'll move the sign on Wednesday evening, saying we'll do Ward 2 Friday through Wednesday. That's so it'll give you enough time to get your leaves out and do it like that.
And we're gonna have to make sure we have a pretty strict schedule on that, because we don't have a truck that'll pull the leaf back.
Right.
We're gonna have to rent it. It's $1,200 a week, so.
So we'll rent it
We
for
gotta
2
watch the
weeks.
weather
We'll
and
rent it for
make sure
2
that
weeks.
When we rent that truck,
Take
we
it back,
can use it.
then do it again.
Yep.
Anything else?
So the 1-ton
Yeah.
truck won't take?
It's not available to us.
Yeah.
No.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
So, now, you don't have to bag the leaves, just put them out front, is that what you're
Put them
saying?
on the curb.
Okay,
Yes.
Bagging them in waste management would be.
well, they've been doing that.
So either way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you still do the stick and picks on Mondays and Fridays?
Yes. Yes. We'll do that as necessary. Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of signs, there's a missing sign on the corner of Colton and Bellwood.
Street sign?
Yes, it's missing.
I'll look down and see if we have it at the shop.
Yeah, well, the kids done took the whole pole out.
Oh, okay. Well, if I find it or whatever, we'll put it back in. Yeah.
And put that on the list to be replaced or?
Yeah, we
The
really
street
need to
sign
do
is gone.
we need to do a whole inventory.
Okay. Make sure you put that on the list.
Anything else? Anyone else?
Thank you, Chris.
All right, sir. No problem.
All right, thank you. All right, Charles, what, you got a treasure report for us?
Actually, Mayor, councilpersons, don't happen to have a whole lot, because we did not get an update from Ms. Dorn for the month of, this would be August. So we will definitely need to follow back up with her on that. So we should expect to get reports for August and September for next month. And also we'll be working with her to look into perspectives of how we'll be approaching the audit RFP. Sam has asked me to meet with her on that, and we will be meeting shortly to discuss that.
I've got a question for you. Is it appropriate on a financial report, because the request has been made, just a very brief narrative as our general status, good, bad, how are we looking, is...
That's definitely possible. I think from the aspects of the different sections of the report, I would probably want to go ahead and summarize each section, and I can do that, and then...
It would be really, really helpful for people to understand that financial report.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Thank you.
No problem.
Good question.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
All right, thank you.
All right, Sam, City Administrator's report.
I don't have too much to report on. Currently, in City Hall, we're looking at running quite a few RFQ and RFP processes in the coming months. One of those is the sidewalk CDBG project, which is underway, and we had some post-bid meetings. Also included is the Public Works roof, the RFQ for a realtor for this property, moving forward on the 7733 Natural Bridge, as well as the RFP for the audit. There's plenty of work to be done in the next couple months, and so we should be turning those out pretty quickly. In addition, I just kind of want to, we have been talking about some of our goals of things we want to get done this year at City Hall and in all the departments, including the capital asset plan, which we are working on, several policy updates, and some updates to sections of our code. Keon and I and Andy are working on bringing some ordinances to next council meeting. That would be starting discussion first to talk about our business license code and updating that before the renewal period in January, and as well as a set of job descriptions for the city. The job descriptions we may or may not have ready for the November meeting, but certainly look out for a business license ordinance. And then looking forward to the rest of the meeting in old business, we have the second reading of the TIF resolution, a second reading of the tree board, and a second reading of the consolidation. In new business, we have a resolution for the Transportation Development District, which I will give the presentation on. It's an initiative by Beyond Housing, as well as a couple of discussions that council members and mayor have asked for. So,
thank you. All right. Next item of business. Old business is Council Bill 22-19B, second reading. An ordinance of the City of Normandy, Missouri, dissolving the special allocation fund for the Natural Bridge Road redevelopment area and terminating the designation of certain portions of the city of Normandy, Missouri relating to that redevelopment area and authorizing certain actions relating thereto. This is the dissolution of the TIF. We did have a first reading and a vote on this. Basically, this thing is expired. We can't do anything with it. Let's give back to the taxing districts the dollars that we've been holding. There's about $1 million in this fund. There is a portion of that we will get until the county does their homework, and we won't know what that dollar amount is. But a portion of that will go to streets, parks, and what's our other, economic development is a special. Is a dedicated
and then
thing.
smaller amounts to capital improvement and general fund
Yeah.
as well.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion to approve Bill 2219B?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any comments, concerns?
I have a question.
Sure.
After all of the bills have been paid, how much is left
For Normandy or what's?
for the, on the TIF? Because in the ordinance it said, it says section 2, upon payment of all outstanding redevelopment projects and costs. I was just wondering, like, after all of that and the surplus and all that, how much is left after?
That's standard language for a dissolution of TIF, so if we still have outstanding bonds, but we don't have any.
Oh, okay, that's all. All right.
And the formula for how much money we actually get, we won't know what that is. It's in the weeds and the county tells us
Okay.
what's left.
There's a calculation that they, okay.
Anybody else? All in favor of adopting Bill 22-19B?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Ordinance number, please.
767.
Ordinance 767, thank you. Next item of business. Council Bill 2220. An ordinance of the City of Normandy, Missouri establishing the City Forestry Advisory Committee and guidelines for the planting, removal, and maintenance of public trees. Once again, we had a conversation about this, creating our tree city and making available to us more grants and opportunities. Is there a motion to adopt Bill 22-20?
Motion. Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill 22-20 is adopted. May I have an ordinance number, please?
768.
Thank you. Next item, Council Bill 22-21, second reading. An ordinance of the City of Normandy, Missouri regarding the plan for the consolidation of the village of Glen Echo Park and the City of Normandy. Is there a motion to adopt 22-21?
I'll make that motion there.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any comments on what we're doing here? Concerns?
Yeah, when this is going on ballot, correct, in April?
We're targeting April.
Targeting April.
Yeah. Yep.
We had, I'm quite sure we've had discussions with Glen Echo, right?
I was invited to their meeting.
Okay.
And they grilled me. But it went well, actually, it went well. They were a bit suspicious
Yeah.
that we would follow through because we've been down this road before, but, yeah.
Because I know they had a park development going on. Did they finish that over there?
I'm not familiar with the park.
Yes, they finished it.
Oh, okay, you talking about the park grant?
A couple of years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a little bit, yeah. Okay.
Okay,
And this would be, they would be brought into Ward 4, correct?
Yeah.
yes, okay, yes. And there's a process that's gonna be followed. There's gonna be public hearings
Yeah.
with us. The county has their own public hearing, Glen Echo has their own public hearing, so there's a lot of work to do on this still. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of adopting Bill 22-21? Any opposed? Motion carries. Ordinance number, please.
769.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda. Resolution 2222. A resolution of the City of Normandy, Missouri declaring its official intent to pursue the joint establishment of a multi-jurisdictional transportation development district with other participating municipalities within the 24-1 municipal partnership and authorizing certain actions related thereto. And I know everyone here is completely unfamiliar with this, and Sam's gonna enlighten us all as to what this is about.
Okay, this is an initiative with 24-1. I believe the mayor of Beverly Hills next door has put a lot of work into this, including Chris, and as well as Chris Craymeyer and other staff at Beyond Housing. The general idea is to create a multi-jurisdictional transportation development district, which would be a separate taxing district that would overlay over the cities who choose to participate. In the cities that do participate, a sales tax would be collected, and then that sales tax would only be used for maintenance and capital investment in streets. They're currently, this is in very preliminary stages. They've engaged with Armstrong Teasdale, which is a municipal attorney firm in the area, to kind of do some of the preliminary work. And right now they're trying to gauge interests of different municipalities and get preliminary, intent from the municipalities to kind of pursue forward, kind of see very early count of who's in, or who might be in and who's out. So the resolution before you, if adopted, would basically say, okay, we're not committing to anything, but we are interested. We're going to come to the table, we're going to discuss these things. So going into some of the detail in regards to what's been proposed, they shared this PowerPoint with me. Right now they're proposing a 1% sales tax. So let's say us, Northwoods, Bell Ridge, Beverly Hills, and Pine Lawn, let's just keep it to that for simplicity's sake. We all opt into this TDD and we pass it. Any point of sale, if you buy at the McDonald's, if you buy down at the Quick Trip in Bell Ridge, that 1% of the sales tax of that purchase would go into the separate taxing district, and it could only be used for Bridge Street, road, highway, access road, interchange, intersection signing, signals, sidewalks. It could be used for a parking lot, although I don't think it would be used for that in this case. Could be used for mass transit, also not likely in this case. But any transportation project it could be used for. And one of the things that's not clear and that we have to work out is the system in which the decisions are made on how the money is spent. So let's see if we can go to this is an early proposal. This isn't what you guys would be signing on to, but this is one of the things that they brought up. They suggest doing 45 to 50% for ongoing maintenance, up to 35% for capital improvement, and 20% for special projects, which would be trails and biking type things. And this is really hard to see, but this is kind of the piece of the pie for if you allocated the funds by lane mile. And you'll see Normandy here is the biggest piece of the pie. We have the most lane miles out of any of the municipalities that are being asked to join this. And that will come into play with something I'll bring up very shortly here. This is by population. You'll see Normandy slightly smaller, but still the biggest piece of the pie. And we would also be one of the larger producers of sales tax. I don't think we would be the largest. I think Bell Ridge and Northwoods have larger commercial centers in terms of sales tax generation than we do, but we certainly would produce more than some other neighborhoods that have very little commercial districts. And then, so this is where this is why I'm presenting it and they're not presenting it, because they're proposing basically the mayor gets elected to this TDD board and then the mayors vote on how the funds are spent. Basically one mayor, one vote on how the funds are spent. So in that case, we would have the least amount of representation, but the most amount of need, and also one of the top generators for the sales tax. So I think that's something that we have to keep in mind. I recommend that we do move forward with this resolution and come to the table, but certainly voice our concerns about that. Either whether we get a guarantee that a certain amount of the money will be allocated by lane mile. It doesn't have to be all, but some sort of guarantee that the money just won't go to the smaller municipalities that have the most representation, that this will be beneficial to us. Another thing to consider is a 1% sales tax is a lot. We already have quite a high sales tax in Normandy, and there could be room for some growth there in terms of what the tax base is willing to bear, but 1% is certainly a lot. I think that's something that we come to the table, we certainly need to keep in mind. And it's still very preliminary, and I think we can work one of these things out. One other very important thing to note is for a municipality to become a part of this district, it has to be contiguous, meaning, this municipality has to touch this municipality, you can't have an island off to the side that's part of the TDD. The way that the 24-1 is laid out and kind of the look at who's in and who's out, this TDD is impossible without Normandy's participation, just the way the map lays. And so we do have a considerable amount of leverage, not only because of our size and our sales tax base, but because the TDD is sort of dead in the water unless we choose to participate. So no pressure, but I think we do have some leverage to kind of, vouch for our interest in this. So again, we kind of went over some of the proposed terms. We're not committing to any of those with this resolution, from my understanding at all. But they are looking to get this resolution passed, I believe, by
Yes.
October.
If we're interested in continuing this conversation.
Right.
And again, this is very non-committal. It brings Sam and I to the table to have the discussion as how this thing is structured. Now, I will tell you, my meeting with Chris Kramer, I had a couple concerns. One was that pie chart that she said as to how the money's gonna be spent. 40 to 45% for maintenance. I wanted that number much, much higher, because maintenance is the issue. Ribbon cutting is fun, but fixing old streets that desperately need fixing isn't so glamorous. But I would want a significantly higher ongoing maintenance number there. The other issue that we discussed was, as Sam said, one mayor, one vote. I would want much more of this as to how this money is spent, spelled out in the TDD charter, less discretion on voting on how it gets spent, more of a laid out plan by street mile population, what kind of maintenance and improvements can be used for. So those were my two concerns that I brought, and they were received. And like I say, if the council's pleasure is to move forward and say, hey, this is something we may be interested in, and we go and continue these negotiations, we pass this resolution and we do that.
Can I make?
Absolutely, because this is a lot.
So I've been going to the Beyond Housing Environmental Health, and one of the other options that we were told is that a formula would be created that would equalize how the monies are being
Exactly what I was
distributed.
talking, right. I'd rather have it spelled out in charter than coalitions of cities get together and vote on how the monies get spent. That's just, I think it's a much better outline.
Sam, what's our current tax rate for sales?
In the city,
Yes.
it is 2.5%.
Okay. Then that's not including the counties.
Yeah, I think when you include the county, we are at, like, the county, the state, and all the other, I think don't quote me on this, but we are in the general area of 9.8%.
Okay. So we're tax rate wise, we're almost on par with unincorporated Baldwin, unincorporated Creve Coeur, for instance. My only real concern is that as we have been clamoring for diversity in businesses within the footprint of Normandy, up to and including a restaurant or a cafe or a coffee shop or anything that we can make use of, I don't know how we're gonna attract businesses with increased tax rates when we're able to feature a minimal tax rate compared to other municipalities or other cities. So,
And I think if the 1% went through, the tax rate of 10.5 plus would make us one of the highest in the state, which is one of the things that I think will probably get worked down here, is that the 1% is just, it's not just us, it's just not workable. I don't think that, it would have to go to the voters to pass is another thing.
Right.
So, and I just don't think that would pass.
Yeah, that was my next question.
So, and I have a question on that too, and I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So when this goes to the voters, it's not passed by Normandy and every other, it's passed by the TDD district as an entity. So is that accurate? So Normandy wouldn't pass it, and then Bell Ridge pass it, and then Bell North pass it. Would that vote could just have to pass as a group?
I would think not, and I don't know, I'd have to review the TDD statutes, but most, for example, the consolidation statute, right? If Normandy and Glen Echo Park are gonna consolidate, then it actually does, that statute requires majorities in each municipality to pass, right? I would be shocked if the TDD statute provided something different, that it had to be a majority.
Well, the reason I ask that, I would be more comfortable if this went to the voters of Normandy and Normandy chose whether, after we negotiate and say, okay, this is what it's gonna look like, and Normandy gets to choose Normandy's fate versus Normandy having an election that includes many other cities. So that answer is gonna be important on how.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can I?
Get you a firm answer on that.
Thank you.
Sam, can I add this? Our 24-1, no disrespect to any cities in the 24-1, but we got 44,000 people in the 24-1 bracket, and as for the vote, we would not be the majority of the vote. So basically, I think we need to table this and maybe discuss it in a workshop and see what direction we want to go, because they've been trying to do this for over 10, 15 years. I think, Tony, you recall?
Not quite.
Not quite, but I just think that we need to maybe table it, because
Rick, the
Yeah,
reason the resolution needs to happen is to get in the mix of conversation, so that Normandy can present themselves and start bringing up these issues. If we don't vote on the resolution and we table it, we're gonna be out of the conversation, right, Mayor Mark?
That is correct. And again, this doesn't commit us to anything
No,
but
doesn't
coming to
commit
the
us.
table. They want to see who's interested, who wants to have this conversation, and that's what this
well,
resolution
I
is.
agree.
So how long have they been working on this?
This has been going on almost a year, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Right, it's
so,
still all very,
so it's been going on a year and they just bring it to us and they
Yeah.
want us to make a decision within the next.
No, I
if
think
we wanna
that,
proceed.
we've been in talks for a couple months, but I was not aware of the deadline until not that long.
because that seems disingenuous to me.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, to Tony's point, that they could have brought us on earlier, I mean.
Yeah, say, hey, we're working on this, and we'll keep you guys
Well,
posted.
we have to agree to this right now, to just go to the table, discuss it.
well, there's a deadline, so if there's a deadline, then we're not gonna be part of the
Well, the
conversation
deadline
to
is
get
their
our
fault,
questions
yeah.
answered.
Exactly.
It's their fault, because they
There's
didn't
no
bring it to
committals
us.
to the they just
Yeah,
wanna
but
know if the
that's on them.
resolution.
They could have invited us earlier, though. That's-
Yeah, but
Well,
that's the point,
this is-
I have
this-
some
this is
background
the-
information, that it was presented, but it was a different administration. And so it wasn't taken advantage of. So then they backed off. But they were always open to including us, and you all had a meeting, and yes, so I mean, time goes by, I mean,
I will say that's certainly true. I think Beyond Housing would have liked to come here and given this presentation a year ago, but I just don't think the state of politics at the time allowed for it.
Well, like I said, 10 years. I've been on the board for 6 years, and I've heard this conversation before.
I'm not aware that this is ever covered.
specific, no,
This
this
TDD?
is new within
Well, I
the year.
mean,
Yeah, I'm not aware.
it's worded differently, but, as far as the merge or whatever you wanna call
Well,
it.
it's not a merge.
It's not a
It's a taxing district.
You're right that there's been conversations of coming together, like, we're as big as Florissant. And so that's part of 24-1 is like, they're having that conversation of why aren't we merging, but that's not happening. But so that,
Yeah,
that
this-
conversation has been
This
long.
is not a
time.
merger. This is
Not
a taxing
merger.
district. And I'm not sold on it or not sold on it. I'm
Just a show.
indifferent. I'm neutral to this. The advantages are a large pool of money, which gives you better opportunities in the bidding process, okay? That's the advantage of it.
And this is the same thing that happened like when the 24-1 did their concrete. And that's why Wilson has all the sidewalks and everything being done, because they were part of that conversation.
They took advantage of the
They took
bidding
advantage of that,
process that was
yeah,
there.
which you have more, I mean, it's basically like collective bargaining. So
Yes.
you have a better advantage. This
Well,
just sets a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Whatever is best for the citizens is.
Well, that's right, and this goes to a vote of the
Yeah, it
citizens.
goes to vote.
And this doesn't commit us to anything, and I know that's why this is brand new to you, okay? This commits us to nothing, it allows us to engage in the conversation. They're not interested in negotiating with people that aren't even interested in it at all. So if you're saying, I want nothing to do with this, then no, don't pass the resolution. If you think it's an interesting idea and you would like to pursue it, pass the resolution, we start trying to work out the details.
I will note, if you go by lane mile, it would, in 1% granted, we would be looking at potentially $150,000 a year for street maintenance. And in addition to that, this district would also employ essentially a manager, a full-time professional staff. And so that there would really be no skin off the city's back. Obviously, the tax base would be supporting it, but administratively, there would be minimal amounts of, coordination that we would have to work on. But this taxing district would do all the work, would bring in new revenue, which we don't have. Even if I think it should be, or it's gonna end up being less than what they're proposing, we do need to work out and protect our interests. But this is exactly something that, we need this.
The conversation.
Anybody else?
Basically, this would just let you guys go into discussion.
Right, this is,
That's it.
there's no commitment to engage in this TDD.
Don't
We are
hurt
not
to-
entering a TDD with this resolution.
Don't hurt to talk, son.
Okay.
Don't hurt to talk.
Okay.
Just get this.
Okay. Anybody else? Is there a motion to approve the resolution declaring its official intent?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number, please.
2222.
Thank you. And this is something that is going to take regular updates, obviously, every meeting.
Okay. I don't know about the 1%. That's pretty steep there.
All right, discussion of our pit bull ordinance, Article 3, dangerous animals in Chapter 205. I kind of wanted to frame this discussion. What does our ordinance provide? And how do we enforce it? And if it's not enforceable, do we change it? If it is enforceable, are there still changes that you want to see made? So identify the problem first, and I think the problem is enforcement is one of the huge
Exactly.
issues with this. But Sam, do you have anything to add to that? And I wanted to let Andy just enlighten the council as to what does the ordinance say? Is it enforceable? Are there issues with it? I know there's been some case law regarding this type of ordinance. If either one of you gentlemen just want to chime in.
Sam, I'll let you go first and then I'll jump in.
Well, and the agenda says pit bulls, but I think there are two overlapping problems. One is dogs at large, which is actually a separate set of ordinances with similar enforcement mechanisms. and one is pit bulls, and then of course we have pit bulls at large. So, I think that's the problem, and it's, I mean, you don't have to drive around very long to see a dog on the loose. In terms of enforcement, we can do what we can through the dog licensing program to, make sure that these dogs are vaccinated and that they're properly registered with the city. That's something that we can certainly make improvements, like we can make large improvements on that program. I don't know how much it will alleviate the dogs at large issue, but I think that's something that the city is going to do regardless of this conversation. Second, we can ticket anybody if we can identify that either they are harboring a dangerous animal, aka pit bull or a Rottweiler defined by our code. If we can prove that to a judge in municipal court that they own that pit bull or they are harboring that pit bull, which could be a little bit, it could be easy in some cases, could be more difficult in others, especially if the dog is at large. And we can write a ticket for that and they pay a fine. And then third, and this is really the problem we're facing right now, we can call animal control and impound the animal and send it to the shelter. However, the shelters have been, since the summer, the shelters have been full, and St. Louis County Animal Control is just not taking dogs. As Chief brought up in his report, no, he's not kidding. The officers are asking if we can build a kennel. Currently, we have dogs in our human jail cells, and an officer has to take the dog out to pee when they certainly have better things to do. And it's either that or let the dog go, which is not a good option. And they'll wait for days for animal control to pick a dog up. So,
How many dogs do we have currently? I'm sorry.
I don't know if we have any right now.
No,
but
we don't.
on any given day, it would.
If we had the facilities for, say, 3, every day we'd have 3. They're just that running that rampant, and that's just not with Normandy. The majority of our dog calls are coming from Bell Ridge, and Glen Echo is a big violator. So we probably wouldn't have space for Normandy dogs with the other cities that we serve.
So, do you have more? Can I jump?
No.
Okay, so I kind of wanted to just run through the structure of particularly the dangerous animal ordinance. As Sam mentioned, there are several related but distinct dog-related ordinances in the city code. And with regard to the dangerous animal, it's Article 3 of Chapter 205 of the code. There are 3 sections that deal with the keeping of pit bulls and Rottweilers. Under Section 205.120, it is unlawful to keep, harbor, or own, or in any way possess any pit bull or any Rottweiler. And then pit bull is defined to include several breeds that are, commonly colloquially referred to as pit bulls. It also includes any dog which has the appearance and characteristic of a pit bull. I will say that, as Mayor Beckman mentioned, there have been, court challenges to these kinds of ordinances. The Maine, Missouri case that came down several years ago pertained to an ordinance passed by the city of Pagedale. And in that particular case, the challenge was that the ordinance didn't have a definition of pit bull. It just said, you can't keep pit bulls, lowercase b, p, lowercase b. And so the challenger argued that that was unconstitutionally vague and that the ordinance was unconstitutional because it was just too vague. What's a lowercase p, lowercase b pit bull? And the court actually found that that was perfectly acceptable because people generally know what a pit bull is, right? It doesn't have to be so precise. And our ordinance is more precise than that would be. So I really see no issue with a challenge there. So certain pit bulls and certain Rottweilers can be kept. Pit bulls that have been registered with the city prior to March 10th, 1998 can be kept. Rottweilers registered with the city prior to December 5th, 2000 can be kept. And so, if anyone has any, I don't know if you know much about the lifespans of a pit bull or a Rottweiler, but we should maybe call the Guinness Book of World Records if anyone has a dog that is still lawfully registered with the city under those terms. Section 205-130 is a pretty long ordinance that deals with the keeping and handling of registered pit bulls and Rottweilers. Again, that's basically a dead ordinance because I don't think there are any pit bulls or Rottweilers that would meet the definition of allowed to be kept under the code. So I'm not going to go into too much depth there on what that ordinance entails. And then, of course, there is a penalty ordinance. So basically, because it's, biologically very unlikely that anyone lawfully has a pit bull or a Rottweiler, the keeping of any of these dogs in the city is prohibited. And, so Sam mentioned there are some enforcement issues. I mean, if the enforcement issue that is always tough, regardless of whether it's a dangerous animal ordinance or if it's a general running at large ordinance, is where you have an animal that isn't tagged, right? Because how do you determine whether or not it belongs to a given person? And of course, people want their dogs, right? So they generally will come and claim their dog, and at that point, they can be ticketed. Also, and that's really where a lot of neighbors come into play, right? I mean, the dogs in your neighborhood, you see the dogs with their owners generally, and this is where community engagement really comes into play, because then it's the neighbors who are notifying the police that, hey, I saw so-and-so down the street with their dog out, it's a brown poodle and it's out in the front yard without a leash, right? That's really where that kind of information comes into play. I've been a municipal prosecutor for my entire career. Since I got out, even before I got out of law school, I started with the city councilor's office in the city of St. Louis working in housing court. Like I've never not been a municipal prosecutor. I've prosecuted lots of these cases, and I don't find them to be particularly difficult. So it's just a matter of working with the police department and, again, neighbors who are seeing this issue to make sure that the owners are identified and then ticketed. But once you have that in place, these at-large tickets are, I don't think, particularly difficult. It's just a matter of getting the tickets issued, right, and identifying, connecting a given dog to a given owner. That's where that's the hard work, right? So again, under section 205-140, it is, effectively completely prohibited to own any pit bull as defined by the ordinance, which again is pretty broad, or Rottweiler. Then section 205-040 has a running at large, and that is not in your packet. I'm looking at that in the code right now. That prohibits running at large of any domestic animals or unlicensed dogs that are allowed to be had. So your, Cocker Spaniels, things like that. So running at large is in general prohibited. There is also, and this I think would really be enforced where you have a kind of repeat issue or where a dog is posing a danger, but there is a running at large, section 205-050, that authorizes the impoundment of the dog. So where you have a dog that, again, is basically a repeat offender or is particularly dangerous and posing a problem for the neighborhood, the police can pick that dog up, notify the owner, and if a reasonable time passes and that dog hasn't been picked up, it can be disposed of in a proper and humane manner. Now, I would maybe have a couple of recommendations for that, and maybe we can address those in a closed session as a legal matter. But as a practical matter, as Sam and the chief have noted, there's just not a lot that can be done right now with the state of St. Louis County Animal Control. So as far as what the city can do right now with regard to pit bulls and Rottweilers, when you see something, say something, notify the police, notify that, so-and-so down the street has a dog that I believe to be a pit bull. And if, the police can get involved and we can connect that dog, confirm that it is a dog that is prohibited, then they can be ticketed. If we see dogs that are at large, again, I would even say, like, photos and videos are, don't put yourself in danger, right? That's to any citizen, right? Not just council members, But contact the police and let them know that you've seen such and such with so-and-so dog, and the police will work to connect those and then send it to me for review. And the ticketing process is really, and I will say I have not seen a lot of running at large tickets coming through the municipal court. So this is something where I can work with the police department to make sure that, we're ramping up enforcement. Because it's something that I've heard council members discussing a number of times, but yet I had not seen tickets coming through. So that's just, we'll work to start addressing these issues. But that's really where this begins, is with municipal court right now.
Well, and I will, go ahead.
Councilwoman
So
Robinson.
if you ticket and they own a dog that's not supposed to be living within our boundaries, do we tell them they have to get rid of it?
So yes. And that really ends up getting treated like any other housing code violation where somebody has, their siding is falling off the, like, what we can do is just keep ticketing over and over and over, right? That's.
Well, and I can add to that too. The police don't like getting involved in code compliance issues, and this is considered a code compliance issue. But I will tell you, Rick is real shy. He's just not interested in enforcing this because you're approaching people that own dangerous dogs. He doesn't carry a sidearm. So this might be one that we just.
But a lot of those dogs are not dangerous. A lot of the dogs that I'm talking about particularly are just people that just let their dogs out. It's not every dog. At least in my ward, those dogs are not. It's just like people are just not being responsible dog owners.
Yeah, one and two, we're the ones that's having a problem.
Right.
So I back to the who's going to be tasked with enforcing this dog issue that we
Code
have?
enforcer. That's what we paid the code enforcer to do, to enforce the code. So
And
why
when-
have the code
when he
enforcer
says-
if we're not gonna?
When he determines that a dog is too dangerous for him to
Now,
deal with,
clearly, if the
pass it
dog
on.
is- yeah.
Well, no, just let me, if he determines that, hey, I'm not dealing with that dangerous animal, then he passes it on to the police. We
Well-
try him first.
Well, clearly, yeah. If the dog is foaming at the mouth, if the dog is aggressive, if the dog runs after him, yes. But I'm talking about if there's a dog that is 5 pounds and just running around and like he's going to pee and do his business, and then he goes into a house, that is an enforceable code. Knock, knock, knock. You can't have your dog out. If I see the dog again, then I will ticket you. Unfortunately, like that.
This is my thing. Why not just give them a ticket? I mean, if the dog isn't allowed, just give him a ticket. Why talk to him? I don't understand that. Why do we have to deal? Rick has to deal with it.
Well, he could get video that proves.
Well, he can
dog
issue a
is there.
ticket just like the police can issue a
Yeah,
ticket.
but why don't he just issue a ticket? I mean, because that's the only way they're gonna get rid of the dog. If you want him, they're
Yeah,
gonna
I
get
mean,
rid
I don't
of
want Rick to put himself in
I
danger.
know. Just give him a
either.
ticket.
I just want him to say something to Kurt, you can't have your dog just going in somebody else's yard, peeing and pooping.
And just like Tony said, address the issue, a ticket, and they know that it's a.
Yeah, let him explain it to the judge, all right.
So we've heard that we've got a good ordinance. Does anybody have issues with the way the ordinance is written?
No.
Our issue is enforcement. So we have a conversation with Sam and Rick and Chief.
Yeah, well, and I'll have a discussion with Rick and the police and talk about, making this a focus and seeing what we can do. I will say that in certain cases, I don't know that the code enforcement officer would be the best for the at-large, because he has to prove, what address. Now, if he does witness a dog or someone standing out in their front yard and the dog's loose in the front yard, that would be a case. But, yeah, dogs at large, I think probably would be best for the police to tackle. Dog, one of the things that the code enforcement officer is if he sees a pit bull in the backyard and he can safely, approach the owner and notice the violation. We do generally have a practice of noticing violations before we write tickets, but it's not true in all cases, so.
I will also say, my experience as a municipal prosecutor, these are usually addressed by the police department and not code enforcement in other jurisdictions.
Mayor, can I finalize it? We have a code, we have a person here that her child got bit by a pit bull. We know that. And we need to enforce the code. Just enforce it. Where the dog comes out, just like Mrs. Yolanda said, the dog came out and peed, was supposed to, whether with the owner or whatever, that's the code violation. Give him a ticket. Tony said, give him a ticket.
Yeah, give him a ticket.
Address it.
If I may add one thing, and I agree with Yolanda, if it's a 5-pound dog, I get it.
See, that's the difference.
But if it's something that could potentially be dangerous too, Rick, I don't want to see him get hurt either.
Right.
If they could offer a backup as far as a officer going with them to address this, maybe he'll feel more comfortable than going up and knocking on the door when he sees a pit bull in the backyard. Because we see him at large, we see him in the backyard, I see him go out and go to the bathroom, literally hold the door open. When they go to the bathroom, they come right back in. And they're pets. So I've seen a wide variety, and I'm sure Karen has, and Tony, but my point is, if Rick needs backup, that's what the police is for.
Yeah, we need a policy in place to handle that.
Well, let's let Sam present to us an enforcement plan.
Well, I'll just issue a memo and have a conversation with Rick and the police department, and then we can check back in with this. I will say, if we're gonna send a police officer with Rick, we might as well just send a police officer. Either one of them can write the ticket, so.
Well, I was just thinking that if he would feel more
Yeah,
comfortable.
right.
Because he's carrying a sign on.
And in certain cases,
And I was just.
the police will come in.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying, is just trying to make Rick feel.
Yeah, but like these little dogs, they are a problem because they're going like, it is not okay for you. I've owned dogs before. It is not okay if you have a backyard. If you want your dog to pee and poop, put them in your yard. But like when we have this, the area in front of our homes where you're just letting your dog use it as a toilet. That's not okay.
No, it's not okay.
Kids play in that park.
Mhm.
People go and like use that park for certain things and everything. So to me, it's like, well, if you go to enforce it for a big dog, I don't care how big the dog is. I don't want any dog jumping on it.
Right.
A big dog, a little dog, whatever. Keep your dog to yourself. So we need to enforce it all the way around.
Yeah, I say, right.
In the past-
That's on me.
In the past, we have
This has
had,
gotten out of hand.
Oh, it
Yeah.
has?
We should have a closed session.
excuse me,
We should have a closed session.
Yeah,
excuse me, I
and
just want to say one thing. In the past, we have had an officer shoot a dog in Third Ward once before.
and Ward 2 also.
And yeah, we've had officers shoot and kill dogs that were dangerous to that person, to that officer. And it was a code violation. So we have to just do what we have to do.
Well, let's say the dog did attack, try to
He did attack. The dog did try to attack.
Make that clear right now.
Right, the dog did attack the police officer. He felt threatened, his life was threatened.
In '98, when that was drafted, the police department were shooting 2.5 a summer dogs.
Yeah.
And that's why it was drafted like it was drafted, because I was a part of that. Okay? They don't want to shoot animals.
No.
they don't want to shoot them. But if they're aggressive, then they have no choice.
Yeah, and you know, you have some residents, I mean, that's what they're doing. They're making the dog aggressive, just like I have a resident that stays down the street from me. Watched him Saturday trying to entice another dog into his backyard with his pit bull, like, come on puppy, come on. Dog wouldn't go no further. He's trying to entice the dog closer to his dog. You know what's gonna happen.
Right.
And his dog is just going crazy, like, come on, you know. And he seen me and he was like, hey, whose dog is this? And I'm looking at him like, really? Are you really gonna do this?
Well, we all agree to the goal.
Yeah.
The next thing we have to agree to is an enforcement plan, and Sam's gonna work on that.
Okay.
I actually expected more disagreement on this whole issue. Everybody wants the same thing, so. Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think an enforcement plan is what we're looking for. We've identified the problem.
I'm on board with that.
Okay. Next item, discussion of First Responders Park. I'll give you a little history on this, and I think everybody's aware of it. About 2 years ago, the city of Normandy and the city of Pasadena Hills entered into an agreement to apply for a park grant at the location of the old firehouse. It was a two-stage program. It was going to require 2 disbursements of grant funds. Stage 1 is completed. The firehouse was purchased. It was tore down and made into green space. I will tell you, at that time, I was very much opposed to this project. I stood at that podium and said so, but my opinion did not prevail. The firehouse was bought, it was tore down, there's green space there, and we entered into an agreement. And I know that last year, the city walked away from it, and we're here to discuss again whether we're gonna complete this project. And I know the Parks Board's had several meetings, myself included, with the city of Pasadena Hills. And I know the Parks Board wants to move forward with this. I had some concerns. One was water features that we pay for and maintain. The city of Pasadena Hills has agreed to do all maintenance on any water features that go in. We cut grass, they maintain the water features. The proposed plan is a splash pad, a water garden, a pergola at that location. So what we lacked last time, yeah, it is hot. It's very hot. What we lacked last time with this project was citizen participation. So what I'd like to do is have a public hearing, invite the public to comment on this project. We'll bring the easel, we'll show the plans, the preliminary plans that were created with a Parks grant, planning grant last time. And the plan at this point, what the Parks Board is recommending is to apply for a new planning grant, make some changes that we have input into this project. But before we do any of that, I think we need to bring the public to a public hearing and get their input on it. So is everybody receptive to that idea to have a presentation on this park and get some feedback from the public? Is a couple of weeks too early to do that? Because if we have a public hearing in a couple of weeks, we can bring the flock camera issue right after that public hearing, and we can crack both of these nuts in one meeting.
You're saying have a workshop about flock after it?
Correct. Have a public hearing and then a workshop about this flock camera, because I think that's going to be a long-winded conversation.
Can I also suggest that we had a workshop about the loan on 7733?
Yes, we can incorporate that into that same meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody receptive to a workshop in a couple of weeks?
As long as it's not on a Wednesday, please.
What did we say? Thursday was pretty much good for everybody, wasn't it? Well, we have to check the calendar.
I can't do Thursday.
Oh, you can't do Thursday? Then let's keep it on Tuesdays.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Tuesday's fine.
Is the fourth Tuesday, does anybody use that for, let's see.
No,
Plan Cup is the second Thursday, and I believe Pasadena Park
It's
is
the
the
first.
third Monday.
Yeah, third Monday, and then Bellry Bakers is the third Thursday.
Okay, so we stick to Tuesdays, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that the 25th then?
Yeah.
Somebody tell me I don't have a calendar.
Looks like it's the 20th.
The 25th is the last Tuesday.
Sam, you'll send information anyway, right?
Yes.
You're gonna send information.
Okay.
Still 6:30, still?
October 25, are we talking about?
Yes.
For a public hearing on this part?
Yes.
Okay.
And then
October
followed by the
25 at
workshop.
6:30, public hearing, and then we'll have a workshop following that. Because, again, I think some history has to be given, and the proposed plans, that existing plans, and what changes anybody would like to see. But my main objection was taken off the table when they agreed to do any maintenance on water features.
Right.
All right, we'll address this issue at a workshop, at a public hearing, and then have a workshop following. All right?
Cool beans.
All right. Item 4 under new business, the appointment of a building commissioner. With the resignation of Chief Hall, he's also our building commissioner. And you got the memo from Sam regarding the appointment of our city clerk, Kiana DeGarmo, to that position. She has some experience in building code issues. And it's a position for public hearings that we need to have filled. So I am making the appointment of Kiana DeGarmo to the position of building commissioner effective November 1.
Is she here?
Right here.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
You just embarrassed the hell out of me. All right.
No attention, I'm sorry.
I'm cool with that.
We had a couple of questions.
Sure.
In regard, Kiana, so if she's gonna be doing this, is it probable we give her a raise? I mean, are you, I mean, how is the workload now? Kiana, how are you feeling about this? The workload now and then this? I guess I wanna hear from.
This generally, well, I'm sure, well, it's generally only 2 to 3 hearings a year.
Right.
And really a lot of the work is on our building inspector and code enforcement officer, Rick. This is just a position that we have to hold hearings for condemnation. And I think we have maybe 4 expected scheduled, and most of the work will be on Rick and Andy as well.
Right, so with nuisance hearings, demolition hearings, things like that, that's where the building commissioner comes into play. And the building commissioner basically serves as the judge at the administrative hearing. So, for example, the hearing that Chief Hall presided over, I presented the city's case, and our, at the time it was, what is his name? Our prior contract code enforcement. Raymond, yes, it was Raymond. And it's just basically all of the kind of the prep work for these kinds of hearings are performed by, in this case would be Rick and myself. And then the building commissioner really only just kind of presides over the administrative hearing, which is just an informal, I mean, it's a hearing, but it's very much less formal than court. So it's not like it's a major addition to Kiana's workload.
I will say Keon's doing a great job though. It's only been 30 days.
And I'm sure she'll be an outstanding building commissioner.
I'm sure. We have your back, Kiana.
You don't want more money.
Anyone else? Do I have a motion? Oh, do you have something?
No, just.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
A motion to approve the appointment of Kiana DeGarmo?
Yes. I'll make
Thank
a
you.
motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, last item on the agenda. A motion to approve from the Parks Board budget $500 for a movie night. That includes a $300 movie rental fee, $200 for concessions, and the Parks Board had, at their meeting, they voted to make this recommendation to the council to approve these funds, and it comes out of the Parks Board fund. Is there a motion to approve $500 for the movie night?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, opportunity for citizens.
One more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
The November meeting.
Yes, go ahead.
Falls on we moved the meeting to election day on accident. Because election day is the first Tuesday after the first Monday. So we did move the meetings, and that was maybe perhaps a little bit short-sighted. Polls, I believe, close at 7. I don't know if the council can move it, make it later, do it
I have a
first
position on
Tuesday.
that. I would like to move it to the first Tuesday in November. Sam's not gonna be in town the weekend following. He'll be on his honeymoon. So, I would prefer that he be at that meeting, the November meeting. So if we have it the first November, I think it's valuable to have him here.
I'm sorry, I have a medical emergency.
Go, thank you.
I'm sorry, everyone.
Good luck.
Hold it.
Anybody else have any input on
Yeah,
that?
hold a second.
So sorry.
I have made arrangements to go to Seattle and come back on the 10th, because I thought the meeting was going to be on the 12th, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I had made, okay, so when did you say the meeting's gonna be?
On the first Tuesday in November.
November 1st.
And you won't be penalized for that because it's not a regularly scheduled meeting. Let's find out who can be there and who can't. So you're saying you can't be there on
Yeah,
the
because
first
I'm
Tuesday?
leaving, I'm supposed to leave. Oh, God. It's November. No. I'm good.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm leaving December.
Oh, okay.
I'll be back
Okay.
for-
Any objection to moving this meeting? All right, a motion to change the scheduled November meeting to the first Tuesday in November.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we'll move on to citizens' comments, and the only person left on the list.
Well, somebody on
There was a Mr. Thomas. Mr.
Thomas Moore was on
Oh,
there.
Terry, is Mr. Thomas on?
Yeah, we'll give him a
Mr.
holler here
Moore.
when Terry's done.
Okay, so I signed up and she's got my address and everything, okay. So Stacy left, but I just wanted to, kind of thank her for bringing up the things that used to happen in the city of Normandy. Citizens for the Advancement of Normandy really did a lot of those things. So if you say, oh, I like those jazz festivals we used to have, that was CAN. Oh, I like what's going on at the garden, that's CAN. Oh, I liked it when we had that big celebration to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the history of the founding of Normandy, that was CAN. So if you liked those kind of things, we haven't been very active because of the COVID, but we're getting past that. So if you want to see more things like that happen, we are looking for volunteers, participants. So I'm calling Stacy. And who's that Malik guy? Oh, you're on my list too. So if you know anybody else that would like to, CAN is a nonprofit organization. It is not affiliated with the city of Normandy, just that we all live here and we love Normandy. We want to see the advancement of Normandy, but it's not a voting or anything with the city. This is independent. So,
Terry, it's the Citizens of Normandy, right?
Citizens for the Advancement of Normandy. I'll just tell you real quick where that came from. When Jim Murphy was the mayor and, we were trying to get the taxing districts passed for half cent for economic development and all that kind of stuff, we decided we would, and other things, we decided to form an organization, and we were trying to think of a name, and it was actually Jim Murphy's wife who said, CAN. Like, we can do it, Citizens for the Advancement of Normandy. So that was where that came from, so.
Thank you, Terry. All right, I am looking, do we have anybody else? Oh, Mr. Moore, are you still there on Zoom?
I believe he left, Judge.
He did leave. He actually said, unfortunately, I have to hop off the call. I just want to note that he sent comment to Councilman Nelson and hung through the city website.
Thank you. Oh, okay. I'm looking for a motion to go into closed session to discuss a personnel issue and a legal issue.
And as a contract issue.
Come on, excuse us, we're not adjourned yet. We're not. I'm looking for a motion to go into closed session to discuss a personnel issue and a legal contract issue.
A legal issue and a contract issue.
Legal issue and a contract. We got three issues.
Right.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Cleveland? Yes. Councilman Saxonheimer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Smith, absent. Councilman Evans?
Yes.
Councilman Nelson?
Yes.
Councilman Hong has stepped out. Councilwoman Russo?
Councilwoman Rosso.
Here.
Yea or nay?
Yes.
Councilwoman Campbell?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's take a few minutes, but keep it brief, please.